Home is where the troop reinforcements are found, and from whence they are deployed. Home is a refuge from the world, but not only or merely a refuge. Home is a base. Without a base, the army can't stand. If society is falling apart, it is because homes fell apart first. No institution can replace families. Societies do not run in parallel with families or compete with families. Societies are made up of families. Families, in turn, are made in homes. From the beginning, humans were created to live in community. It was not good for man to be alone. Adam could not fulfill his mission. People are made in God's image, and one way we reflect God is by being individuals living in social harmony. So society is not optional. It's not an accident. It's not random. Society is part of the way God made the world. It is God's intention that there can be both civil and church societies, organized and governed under Him. Yet there is a society more fundamental than that of the nation or the church, a society that must exist in order for either of these others to exist. The family is that society, and it is the building block of the broader society because it is within the family that people are made and raised. A woman is at the heart of every functioning home because women are uniquely designed to orchestrate homes. Women, therefore, are the heart of society. The greatest contribution we, as women, can make to our culture, to our nation, to our town, to our church, is within reach for each of us. We can put our own home in order and use that to show forth the gospel in a myriad of ways, all of which are hospitality-based. Our homes are for using to build up people. If those people make a mess, a physical mess, an emotional mess, or any mess, it's not frustrating our goal or ruining our home. Messes give us opportunities to use our home for its very purpose: mending, serving, building, nurturing, and growing people. Hospitality is building up people, and that's our mission, whether we started from the moment of their births or we just learned their names. Excerpt from A Home for Hospitality by Misty Winkler. In a society that is constantly telling us we need a village, do we actually know what the biblical answer to that is? Some of you might remember an episode I did last fall called It Takes a Village. In that episode, we discussed the pitfalls of the modern village mindset and why it not only leads to a victim and consumeristic mindset among young mothers, but it is fundamentally not the biblical model. In this episode, we are going to dive back into this whole conversation surrounding the village, but we are going to really focus on what it looks like to do the village thing right, or rather, to pursue true biblical community and hospitality. While the world's vision of the village mindset is centered on outsourcing to others to fulfill your personal needs, the biblical model begins with how we can be a blessing to others and meet their needs. Through acts of service and hospitality, we are able to truly fulfill the mandate to show others the love of Christ. In Scripture, we see that hospitality is not just a gifting that some people have a knack for, but it is a command that we are called to. So, if this is a command, should we believe that we don't have what it takes? Or should we go to the Lord and pray that He will equip us for the good work that He has called us to? In this episode, we are going to talk about how you actually do need a village, but it's not the village that you've been conditioned to think of. What you need is true biblical community, and building it starts with you in your own home right now. So, whether you are a pro at hospitality or the thought of it makes you want to crawl in a hole, this episode is sure to encourage, inspire, and equip you to persevere in your calling, to use your home and your hands to pursue the beauty of true biblical community. Hey friends, welcome back to the Keeping the Citadel podcast. I am Heather Faria, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's conversation is one I've been especially excited to share because we're talking about something that is deeply practical and profoundly beautiful, and that is biblical hospitality and recovering the kind of rich, life-giving community that God designed his people to enjoy. Throughout this series, we've been exploring beauty from a distinctly biblical perspective, not merely as something pleasing to the eye, but as the outworking of God's goodness, order, truth, and love in every area of life. As you'll hear soon, hospitality is one of the clearest expressions of that kind of beauty. Before we jump into that conversation, though, I have just a few quick housekeeping items. This episode is part of our ongoing series inspired by our spring issue of the Keeping the Citadel magazine, The Battle for Beauty. While the print edition has sold out, the full digital issue is still available if you'd like to follow along with this series and continue exploring what it means to cultivate beauty in a world that has been broken by sin. You can just go to keepingthecitadel.com to grab your digital issue. We also have our summer issue on sale right now. So if you've been thinking about picking up a print copy, this is a wonderful time to do so while the sale lasts. You can use code SUMMERSALE at checkout to get $10 off. So don't miss out on this because once this sells out, print copies will no longer be available. Last but not least, I especially want to remind you that subscriptions for our fall issue close August 15th. Our year 2 theme is the architecture of the Citadel, and this first issue, Cornerstones, is all about the hidden foundations wise women lay as they build enduring Christian households. Once subscriptions close, we begin production and only print the number of magazines that have been ordered. So if you'd like this fall issue delivered straight to your mailbox, be sure to subscribe before August 15th so you don't miss out. Also, if this podcast has encouraged you, would you please just take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, or share this episode with a friend? These simple acts truly help more women discover the podcast and support the mission of Keeping the Citadel. Now, today's guest is someone whose ministry beautifully embodies everything we're going to be talking about, and I'm very excited to introduce her to you all. So without further ado, here is today's conversation. All right, today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Mallory from the Village Calling. Mallory, would you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
Hi, Heather. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a privilege to be here. I'm Mallory. I'm a mom from New Hampshire. I'm pregnant with my 5th child.
Yay.
And I specialize in talking to people about building community and what friendship looks like in our modern society and how to do that in a Christ-centered, God-honoring way. And what that looks like over long periods of time, building a legacy of community in your life and in the future.
Awesome. Yeah, your whole entire account has just been so convicting and encouraging to me. When I first found you, I was just amazed at not only your vision for hospitality and what true community looks like, but just the amount that you are putting out on a regular basis, how this is really a lifestyle for you.
Thank you. I mean, the Lord has grown my muscles over time, and I talk about this a lot about how this isn't something you wake up and it's just this is your normal rhythm. But I'm so grateful to be given the opportunities day in and day out that bring people into my life and to care for them and to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And I just see every single day as an opportunity to be poured out for the Lord. And at the end of my life, I just want to say that I did everything that I could to be poured out for other people in the name of Jesus and for the glory of God.
Amen. That's awesome. I love that so much. So some of our listeners who have been following for a while know that last fall I did an episode called It Doesn't Take a Village. And
so funny.
Yes. And this is before I knew about you or anything. But what that episode was about, you guys can go back and listen to that one because it is an excellent episode I did with Danielle Wood. She's one of our writers for Keeping the Citadel. This episode was all about how the village that we tend to hear used in society that we all need to have is where we are outsourcing to social programs.
Government programs. Government's your daddy. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Things that where community is removed from the home and the shepherding and parenting that we are sending our children off to is being done by other people, and people who are not truly invested in us with love and hospitality, but are just getting a paycheck and, yeah, serving daddy government. So,
It's so true. I mean, I think that there's that category of people who say, like, it takes a village.
yeah.
There's people in that category where they say it so that you sign up for social programs, you never grow your muscles as a parent, you think that you can't do it all and you're overwhelmed and therefore you must hire all this stuff out. But then there's another category of women who say it takes a village and they want unlimited free help from their family members, from their friends, from their community, without having the posture of this is also something that I support, this is something I contribute to. It's all like, I am the center of the community right now because I just had a baby and everyone should be taking care of me. And if they're not, then I don't have a village and I can't do this and I'm overwhelmed. And that's another problem camp as well. But the camp that I am really trying to help shape is one that doesn't necessarily wake up and say, well, it takes a village, so I got to find my village.
Yeah.
But is somebody that wakes up and says, who are the people around me that I can help bear the burdens of, that I can pour out for? And that starts with your family. And it extends out in concentric circles to the people that are placed in your life. And that's what forms strong bonds that support you through difficult seasons of life, but also grows you as a person to be a capable, generous, and giving person that supports that type of community and is a part of it, not just sucking it dry.
Exactly. Yeah. And the way that you framed that is exactly what I was getting at in that episode, is really this mindset that women tend to have where they're looking for something that is all about them and how it can serve them. And also just relinquishing their responsibility. That I think that the way that the world uses the village is to allow women to have that victim mindset where they can't actually handle their people, so they have to give them up to other people, and other people should be expected to come along and help them with these so-called burdens that they have to bear. But what you're describing of the village community that you are encouraging women to cultivate is the true biblical model where we are actually serving others, and instead of looking how we can be served, it's how we can be giving and blessing, and also just taking responsibility, not acting like the victim and, oh, I can't handle this, and I'm, all the excuses that women try to make to shirk their sense of responsibility.
Exactly. And that's what it all comes down to, is biblical community and how community is described and carried out and applied in scripture throughout the early church and even in the Old Testament too. But when I frame it as building a village, creating a village, supporting a village, I get a lot of those minds to start to shift their thinking. And that's kind of how this all began, is because I really wanted to reach that group of particularly young moms, new moms, to help them to see just how much they're capable of, and that this season that they're in is a season to build and grow and change and build a legacy for their children, and not just sit back and whine and want everyone to do everything for them.
Exactly.
Just to be blunt.
Yeah, no. And I think that's perfect because I remember as a young mom, I remember all the voices that were being thrown at me. And I think it's even worse now for young moms, and that they are being, just really being given the lie that all of it is too hard. And I think that, yes, this is very hard work that we're doing, but it's worthy, and that God has not given us work that he's not going to equip us for and to strengthen us for. And so I think what young moms really need to be encouraged in is that actually you can do this. If you just learn how to, like you were saying, grow in those muscles, this is work that you can do and be fruitful in and productive in and be a blessing to your community in.
Exactly. And it's learning how to step into hard things It's learning and seeing that you aren't stuck in the capabilities or the strengths or the gifts or the personalities that you have right in this moment, but that you can always be expanding yourself as a person. You can be expanding yourself as a villager, as I put it. And as a mother and as a wife, and you can always be striving for more excellence, and you can grow. And I think that's the part where a lot of people forget, is that we've gotten so attached to comfort. We've gotten so attached to never having our bubble burst, never feeling growing pains, that we forget that it's hard, but hard is good. Hard is what makes you better. Hard is what makes you more capable. And everyone can look at somebody else and be like, wow, you are such a high capacity person. You do so much. And most of the time, that high capacity person grew to that place through small, repeatable actions in every single day, applying themselves in very practical ways.
That's really good. So, since this series is all about beauty, I'd love to talk about beauty and the significance of hospitality. Hospitality in Scripture is so much more than entertaining, it's ministry. And so, why do you believe opening our homes, sharing meals, and caring for one another around the table is one of the most significant ministries that women can devote themselves to today?
You know, we had a Titus 2 event at our church some time back, maybe a couple of months. And a lot of the older women spent some time sharing about things that they were glad they did when they were raising their kids, things they wish they did better, et cetera, et cetera. And do you want to know what every single one of them said? They all said, every single one without fail, I am so glad I prioritized the dinner table and that we sat around the table with our family every single night. Or like the pastor's wife, they had family breakfast because the evenings were often occupied for the pastor. But they had a dinner table where everyone sat undistracted, sharing a meal, sharing conversation. And I beat this drum so hard of like, if you don't have rhythms like that in your home, you're not going to be able to become a home or a person that can fold people into that, because the rhythm of sitting down with your family as often as you can, preferably 5, 6, 7 nights a week, where people are forced to sit and look at each other and participate in conversation and disagree and come back to the table the next day and grow and learn together and converse. You are not only growing social skills, growing social graces, which are different, you are also discipling the people around that table.
Yeah.
And you have an anchor for your home. And for us, the family dinner table is also where family worship happens. You know, there is some very practical discipleship that happens. But when you're bringing people into the folds of that action and that rhythm, you are not just giving them a meal, you're giving them the culture of your home. And that is what starts to shape people. It's what starts to shape relationships. It's what forms the threads for understanding each other as you are, as members of the body of Christ, as sinners. And over long periods of time, that is like the building blocks of a life and a home that brings people in and disciples them and then sends them out to do the same. And so hospitality and having people over for dinner isn't just some big, huge to-do. It's a practical rhythm that you can just plod in, that you can walk in, that over time produces fruit that is so rich and so sweet and so long-lasting. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that what you're talking about, having that regular rhythm around the table, having that is a way that the people around your table are getting to experience the goodness of God in a tangible way. You can talk about beauty, you can talk about the goodness of God, you can talk about the fruits of the Spirit. But when you're around the table, you are actually getting to experience that and to know that this is what God is like. This is what a loving father is like. This is what it is to practice these one another's in relationship with each other. And I think that is so vital because it's where we put our Christianity into action.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I was thinking of when you were talking about is that we can't do hospitality to others if we don't have that established in our home already. And
Mm-hmm.
so we need to have something to invite people into before we can actually give anything.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like you were saying in the very beginning, that it has to be to our family first. And if we're not being hospitable to them, we don't have anything to invite people even into.
Exactly. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get into talking about kind of the most common excuses, because this is every single time this conversation of hospitality comes up. Everybody wants to give their long list of excuses of why they can't do it. So we say we want deep community, yet so many of us struggle to actually pursue it. In your experience, what are the most common excuses women give for not practicing hospitality or investing in biblical community?
I'm honestly curious if you hear the exact same ones as me. I'm pretty
Probably.
sure that we all do experience this. Number one, I just don't have time. Number two, I'm a terrible cook. I'm afraid to cook for other people. Number three, my house is a mess and I just can't get my act together. Or number four, like maybe in a different season when I don't have so many littles, like the kids are crazy and it would be such an embarrassing thing. I hear that a lot from young moms to bring people in. It's funny because when we first joined the church that we're at now, when we moved to this area, we had the pastor and his wife over, and they were in their 49th year of ministry.
Wow.
And we had them over, and I was pregnant. No, my third was a baby, so I had like a 3.5, 2.5, and a baby, or somewhere around there. And they came in and they're like, we'll be honest, it has been like a decade since somebody in your season of life has had us over for dinner because people are afraid and embarrassed to have people into their home in this season of life. And of course, when it's a new pastor, I have everything leveled up. The house actually is very clean. The food actually is a little bit leveled up. It's not just like I called my best friend and was like, come on over, guys. It's pizza night, And so I was just like, and we work so hard to have a good dinner table with our children, even at 3.5, 2.5, and a baby. I was shocked because to me, that is like the most basic thing when you join a church is to invite the pastor and his wife over to your home and give them a piece of what your life is like so they know who they're shepherding. And so anyways, on a tangent, but the time thing is so interesting to me because you see a bunch of different perspectives of we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's like the camp that's like, we don't all have the same 24 hours in a day because list your reasons why you are so occupied or, whatever. But the fact is that we all make choices with the hours that we do have in the day.
Yeah.
So we make a choice to put our kids into 3 different sports. We make a choice to fragment our family so that 5 or 6 days a week we are in 7, 8, 9, 10 different places at any given time. We make a choice to spend every 5 to 7 minutes of free time during the day scrolling instead of just putting that load of laundry away.
Yep.
Guilty. We're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
But the time is always a choice. We're always given a choice. And if you're not prioritizing it, you won't have the time for it.
Yeah.
If you do want to prioritize it, you can make the time for it. That's a very basic principle of life that I think people just forget. And then now I forget all the other ones I listed. Not a good cook.
Yeah.
No one said you have to cook, first of all, to have people over.
Exactly.
Pizza is an option. That's what's so exhausting about all the excuses is the answers are very simple, but people then push back against even those answers because they just want an excuse to stay where they are and
they don't want to
move
take
forward.
responsibility.
They don't. Yeah. And so it's exhausting. And then I think when you don't run your home in a way where your children can tolerate being hospitable to other people, you have a lot of work to do. And that can take a really long time to reverse. And so I get that can feel overwhelming when you're like, well, I do want to have people over, but I can't even get my 3-year-old to eat his meal without a fight or stay at the table. And some of these moms that I speak to on a regular basis are having that trouble with 7 or 8-year-olds.
Yeah.
And this is going to take some time to reverse. But again, there are ways to build community that can give you that time, if you commit to it, to make the changes in your home and make the changes in your children to get to that place. And sometimes it's just like, well, then have a fire. Have a fire in the backyard where the kids can literally run laps around you and you can get some conversation in and commit over the next year to make a lot of gains when it comes to the behavior of your children around the table.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah.
But again, anytime people come to me with excuses about why they don't want to do it, I give them the solutions. And at the end of the day, they don't actually want the solutions. And that's where people get really, really stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it all comes back to seeing, okay, so what are my roadblocks right now? And how can I actually practically do the work to overcome these? I think we can get in our heads that hospitality has to look a certain way. And I think one of the most common excuses that I hear is season. It's just not a good season. It's not a good time. And
over and over and over again.
Yeah, but
all the seasons.
Yes.
Season.
And seasons are real things to consider. Like they actually do impact us in huge ways. We need to be honest about capacity and what we're able to give, but that doesn't mean we can't give anything. I've heard I think it was Rachel Jankovic where she was talking about how when her kids were really little, she wasn't hosting like 30 people Sabbath gatherings every single Sunday.
Her mom was the one hosting.
Yeah. And
I think about that all the time.
Now she has older kids. She has kids who are able to help her with the hosting. And so she is able to do that. And so I think that we can look at the way one person is doing it and be like, okay, hospitality has to look like that. Like I can't have anybody over for dinner. I can't host a Sabbath gathering unless it looks like that. And just really asking ourselves, okay, well, what can I do in this season that I'm in? How can I help my kids come along and be hospitable in this season? And it doesn't have to look, maybe even all you can do is bring a meal to somebody and not have anybody over for a certain period of time. Like that's still a form of showing hospitality.
Yes. And I had to do this for a long time because we lived an hour away from our church. We thought we were moving to this certain part of the state. And we were attending a church there, even though we ended up having to live further away. And I couldn't reasonably ask people to come to our house because we were an hour away or an hour and 30 minutes away from most of them. But what I would do is I would invite ourselves over other people's houses by saying, hey, would love to spend some time with you guys after church sometime. Can I bring over lunch with us in one of the coming Sundays? We can't, unfortunately, it'd be too much for you guys to drive to us, but we would love to stay in the area and spend time with you, and I'd love to bring lunch.
That's perfect.
And it worked out for 2 or 3 years. That is how we built community. So, and that's not even the beginning of the type of circumstances I've had to build community in over and over and in different seasons of life. There have been some atrocious seasons of my life that I have had to build community in. But being the type of person who's like, I'm going to find my way through this is what was, in the end, the thing that built the community. It wasn't sitting around and waiting for different circumstances because who knows if they will ever come. You don't. You don't.
You have to take ownership over it. I've heard, I don't know if you listen to Sally Clarkson or are familiar with her
Love
books.
her.
Yeah. I remember hearing her say so many times how she moved like, 15, 17 times, something like that. And so she was always the new person everywhere she went. And what she determined to do is that everywhere she went, she was just going to invite somebody over. She was going to be the one to invite over for coffee or tea. She was going to be the one to start the mom's book study or whatever it was. And that's always been so encouraging to me and stuck with me is that we have to be the ones to make it happen if we want it to happen. And we need to not wait around, but take responsibility for that.
Military families in our church are some of the most legendary community builders. And
Wow.
they know when they show up that they're only there for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Sometimes a little bit more. But man, they don't miss a beat. They become pillars, core families, members of the inner circle so quickly. They're so applied. They so take it like ownership and responsibility for and not just sitting around waiting for people to fold them in or checking out because they know they're going to be heartbroken if relationships, have to end because they move again.
Well, that's what I think would be the biggest obstacle for a military family. And that's really inspiring to me because I would think that going in somewhere knowing like, oh, I'm only going to be here for 2 years, that would kind of make you not want to invest because it hurts too much. Because
they do it anyways. They do it anyways, and they're
or like,
amazing
what's the point
for it. And you know what? Like, you never know what God's using during that season. Like, I do have people ask me all the time, "How do I build a village if I know I'm leaving or if I know?" It's like, if you have a heart, like, number one, you don't actually know the future. I had a friend who literally said to me, everyone I'm meeting lately is saying that they're trying to leave New Hampshire, so I'm not going to invest in their friendship. And I'm like, but
I'm
do
from
you know
California.
if they're actually going to leave? Yeah. Do you know if they're actually going to leave?
Yeah.
No. You have no idea what the future holds. So stop pretending like you do and invest in people because they're the ones that are in front of you right now. And you don't know if you're going to be given another day. You don't know if you're given another month or another year at all.
Yeah.
So we need to stop pretending like we know what's going to happen in the future and plant our feet and be the hands and feet of Jesus where we are and with the people in front of us, and stop trying to curate something that is outside of our control.
That's really good. It's very encouraging. And I'm sure very convicting for a lot of us who have had those thoughts in our heads. So, okay. So one of the barriers that I hear from people too, and I know this is personally something that is a fear in my heart that I deal with. And I'm always like, okay, it's going to be okay. But it's just the fear of awkwardness and small talk. I don't know why, but I just feel like the deadness is the scariest thing.
So hard.
Yeah. So what are some practical ways to move past the awkward small talk and cultivate deeper conversation? And just how can women overcome this fear in general? I know there's people who are very easy to talk to, like you meet them and you just dive right in. But then there's some people who are very difficult to
just hard.
Break through that.
Well, number one, don't discount the rehearsing or taking time to pray for the person coming over, writing down questions in your phone that you can ask. Like that, none of that is inauthentic. I think people get this idea that, well, if it's not happening naturally and without any preparation, it's not authentic.
Yeah.
No, we can be completely authentic and also be prepared. Like, especially as you're growing those social skills and growing the ability to hold a conversation with new people, awkward people, quiet people, you're going to have to use your resources. And like, I don't even remember what I had for lunch yesterday, okay? Like, our brains are limited. And so don't count out those things. I'm a huge fan of praying over, like, while you're cooking the food, pray over the people coming, write down questions you can ask them. And then beyond that, I know you hear it said all the time, an interesting person is an interested person. And so if you have people over and you're constantly worried about whether or not they got to know you, it's going to be awkward. There's going to be quietness. Anytime you ask a question and you genuinely listen to the answer, you will have more questions to ask. So be genuinely interested in the person that is in front of you, and ask good follow-up questions and genuinely be interested in getting to know who they are. And, the questions that you write down ahead of time shouldn't be small talk questions. It should be like, tell me about how you were raised, where you grew up, and what your parents were like. People love to talk about their family and themselves, or even just the way that God redeemed a very broken family or a very broken upbringing. And so write down questions that are going to open up the person and not just get you through the night.
Yeah, I love that. I think that having those questions prepared ahead of time is actually one of the most intentional things that we can do in preparing for our guest. And I think it's very important for people to consider, maybe somebody who doesn't, where this doesn't come naturally to them, or maybe they struggle with just communication in general, is to really think about the fact that asking people questions is actually one of the ways you can be the biggest blessing to them. Yes. Because it shows that you care, that it shows that you're invested, that you actually want to get to know them. And people feel that when you ask them these things because they want to be known. They want to even if maybe they aren't as forthcoming at first with kind of those deeper conversations, everybody has that desire where they want to be known and loved. And like you were saying, people enjoy talking about these deeper things. And so I think it helps to just have that list, whether it's something that you come up with on your own, or I know something that we've done in our house is we got just a fun little thing that we ordered from Amazon. Yeah, a deck of cards, and it has all these table conversation prompts.
That's
and
great.
We've even just done this with our family, like me and my husband and our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the four of us around the table. And it's become kind of a fun activity for us around the table. It's been a great way to teach my kids how to listen and hear the others answer and give them time and space to speak and show interest in that person. It's been a great...
And that's easy to fold other people into if you're already doing that.
Yeah. And they think it's like a game, but it's actually teaching them manners and respect and social skills. But if you have that family, maybe they're new, and I think that can be a really great tool to use in situations like that.
And also just, especially when you're not sitting around the table eating, because people have something to look at, they have something to do with their hands when they're eating. Be busy with your hands with somebody new. If you invite an older lady over for an afternoon tea or something, literally pull out the potatoes and be like, do you want to chop some potatoes for me for dinner tonight? Getting busy with your hands, having something for them to look at and do, it takes away a level of barrier that people don't feel as awkward anymore. And it can be simple. And there's no ceremony around it. It's just like, I'm doing this already. Let's snap some green beans and then ask a good question. And having something to do with your hands, especially for women, can be super helpful in good conversation. And I'm like, there's no shame in leaving some prep to do together in an intentional way that makes people feel so loved when they can contribute. So don't count that out. And the other thing I would say, we don't do a deck of cards, but we do high-low buffalo at the table. So we share a high, a low, and the buffalo is just something random. And you would be amazed at what my 2-year-old says for his high-low buffalo. And that's teaching, again, listening, conversation, and sharing in a very intentional way at the table.
Yeah, I love that. Going back to what you were saying about having somebody come along and help you with some of the prep in the kitchen, I think that also eliminates a lot of the awkwardness that the guests can feel coming into a home and not kind of knowing what to do with themselves in the moment. And so
they feel a part of it.
Yeah. Instead
kids
of having them just sit there.
Kids want to help. Guests want to feel the same way. They want to feel a part of it. Give them, let them be a part of it. There's no shame in that. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I will say I love that. And I've done that in my house, and I think it helps so much. But something that my mom did that really was ingrained in me, and I saw her do this in the way she showed hospitality, is when anytime somebody would come over, she might be working in the kitchen or things like that, but she also would take the time to sit and look at the person in the eye so that she was having the conversation with them, and oftentimes would just completely stop what she was doing and to show the guests that they're important. And so I do think it's really important that we do take that time to stop and just be present with the guest and, give them our full attention.
Yes, 100%. And it's a both and.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we kind of touched on this already, but one of the biggest barriers women feel is the state of their homes, that they aren't ready, their home isn't ready. So I want to talk about this just in a practical way. What does it look like to get your home guest ready? What does that even mean? And how can we make sure our homes are presentable without being obsessed with perfection?
It starts with your attitude. I want to beat this drum all day. Turn off Pinterest, turn off Instagram, turn off content creators, and work on your attitude. If I could get women to stop dusting their baseboards, I don't even know what they're called. Okay. People are not coming over to look at dustless baseboards. They're coming over to look in your eyeballs. So more than anything, my generation needs to hear, okay, Stop with the obsessive, our house has to look a certain way in order to let people in, okay? Our parents and our grandparents grew up in much more cluttered, much more messy homes than we did, and that our children are. I don't remember my home being cluttered at all. It was. I look back at pictures and I'm like, whoa, but I don't remember that because everyone wanted to be at our house because our home and our family and my mom and my dad were all extremely hospitable people. It starts in your attitude. And I know that's a lot more tangible than like the practical stuff. So I'll get to the practical stuff. But you aren't going to be able to make progress in the practical stuff if you can't work on your attitude and be a cheerful, hospitable person. With your house not looking exactly the way you thought it would when you started having people over. It's got to be your attitude. You need a smile. You need a willing heart. You need genuine eye contact with people. That is the most important thing that makes your home hospitable is you and your attitude. Okay, now what I actually try to have it be like when people come over. I prioritize a clean bathroom. I prioritize generally cleared off surfaces. Not perfect, generally cleared off. Okay, there's 4 little kids running around my house 24/7. Generally cleared off spaces. And what's my third one? Like running a vacuum.
Yeah.
Okay. So running a vacuum, just having generally swept, generally vacuumed floors and a comfortable place for people to sit. Those are the biggest things you need to focus on. Okay. No one is going upstairs and looking at the grout lines of your shower. And no one is taking a white glove to your baseboards or your bookshelf. So, and I'm not saying like always be content with a mediocre space. If you want to get better at homemaking, then keep plugging away at that. But that's a plodding, like small steps over long periods of time to get you to that point. And you don't need to get there before you start bringing people in with a cheerful and happy attitude. You need to be able to do it when your home is good enough, welcoming enough. And to me, that's cleared off counters, a clean bathroom for people to use the bathroom in, and generally picked up and vacuumed floor. That's really, to me, the most important thing it comes down to.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying is you are saying that the house still needs to be clean to a certain extent. It still needs to be presentable, because on the other hand, we hear people who are like, just come as you are. It doesn't matter if the house is a wreck, come join my chaos. And
that is you don't want to get in that ditch.
No, because
you don't want to get in that ditch.
Yeah, because our homes are supposed to be for loving people and showing keeping a clean home when you know somebody is coming over and tidying up and making it somewhat presentable is a way of showing honor to that person and that they are worth you taking the time to, show them respect and care in that way. Yeah,
absolutely. And if that's your attitude, if you're thinking about it and going in, I want to show honor to this person, not I'm worried about my image, you're going to make the right choices and you're still going to have a good attitude. But you don't want that ditch of like, come join the chaos and never clean your house and expect people to want to come back. Absolutely not. That's disrespectful. It's not hospitable. But the other ditch is like, I'm never going to allow anyone to see any clutter, any dust, or anything that gives proof of life in my home. You want to walk that middle road. And I know you hear, that's like my favorite
it is
way to talk about it is the ditches and the road.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know why, but women just want to pick one of these two extremes, and they're
funny. As Lexi Sauvé says, women are funny.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It doesn't have to be one extreme or the other. Of course, we're not striving for museums. That's not the goal here. But we also would like to make a path for people to walk through and have them not using our bathroom with our little boys'
underwear on the floor.
Yeah.
And you don't listen, I have 2 little boys, and you also you want people to walk into your house and go, like you do want that. Okay.
Yes.
And that's a great thing to strive for. You do want people to feel that, but it may take some time to get to that point. And so you should just keep practicing. Like you know, and I do want people to come into my home and feel, and you know what? Especially if people are showing up unannounced, that's not going to happen every time.
Yeah.
But I find that my willing heart, my cheerful attitude, and my willingness to just open up my arms anyways in my home anyways does make people feel, and then while they're here, I just do all those little things that are important to me.
Yeah.
Just clear off the space on the couch that, was where my kids were recently jumping on and make it comfortable for them to sit. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's really good. I think that's really helpful, and hopefully will encourage women who feel maybe like they're stuck in one of those two extremes. So
hopefully.
Yes.
You can do it.
Okay, so I think this is a really good segue into talking about Titus 2 in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So many women say that they can't find an older woman who can provide for them that sort of discipleship that they're looking for and lean into their lives or help them with the things that they're seeking to grow in. Do you think this is a real, genuine problem that women are facing today? And what can younger women do to start building those relationships?
Yeah, I think there's several different lanes here that people fall in. So there are older women who genuinely fall in the I did my time. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not helping people with their little ones. I did my time, da-da-da. There's also a lane where young moms expect the help from the older women without any of the discipleship or maybe the areas where they need to extend grace to these older women in that. And so they want them to come and fold all their laundry and care for their little ones and clean their counters. But when the older woman presses them on maybe some of their flaws, they are just like, I can't believe you would come in my house and say that.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely that. I think I've definitely spoken to older women that feel like younger women don't want their input. They don't want their wisdom. They don't want them in their life because we are such a society so bent on our own ideas, our own individualism. There's a lane there. There's several different lanes that have created this intergenerational brokenness. And I really think it's going to take humility from both sides for us to revive it. We can only control what we are going to do. So if you're a young mom looking for a relationship with older women, instead of pointing fingers at what they're not doing correctly, you can only change who you are and what you're doing with the circumstances you were given. So you need to act accordingly. Start inviting them into your home and then ask them questions about how they raised their children and give them an opportunity to feel valued for their wisdom, not just what their hands can do, which is if it's chopping your vegetables, great. That's wonderful, but they need to feel valued beyond that because they've been around the block a few times, okay?
Yeah.
I'm pretty ignorant. I'm 30 years old. I haven't seen most of motherhood yet. I'm literally just in the beginnings of it. And they have so much to offer. So we need to take a posture of humility constantly and make them feel valued for their wisdom, for their experience, even if you think when you first hear it, it is so outdated.
Yeah.
You need to put on your humility pants and just listen and thank them and really think about it. I think that the I did my time crowd, this is where I bring in like that Gandalf quote where it's like you can't really do much with the time you were given. All you can do is you don't decide what time you were given, but you can decide what you're going to do with it.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to change the heart of somebody who says like I did my time. Okay. Yeah. So don't try to spend your life in bitterness and resentment toward them, even if it's your own mother or an aunt that you think should be there for you. It's not going to help. Lean into other people that don't have that mindset. And again, with a posture of humility and with the idea that you are also contributing to this relationship, I think a lot of ground can be made there. And then repair. Do you know how hard I've had to work at my relationship with my mom? I mean, we live together and we have butt heads since the day I was born, but we have worked so hard. And by the grace of God, we are very good friends. And we have a genuinely back and forth reciprocal relationship. My mom isn't what people think she is when I say that I live with her. She's my friend. And that took 2 really, really gruesome years of me seeking the Lord about whether or not I really did honor the fifth commandment and whether I really did treat my mom in my heart and in my mind the way that I was supposed to.
Mm.
The fifth commandment always applies, and we should not ever think that because someone's doing something a certain way or has an attitude a certain way that it doesn't.
Yes. Oh, I think that is so good and so important for especially this generation to hear, because we are in a culture right now that is constantly being told that they need to cut out every toxic influence, or if you've been wronged or if you've been hurt, you need to protect yourself and your inner peace or whatever it is.
It's so exhausting.
Yeah. But how, as Christians, we are called to do the work of forgiveness, and if Christ has worked his redemption in us, how can he not much more do it in our relationships? And I love so much how you are willing to humble yourself, because it takes extreme humility to overcome hurt when we've been hurt, or when we just have difficult relationships in general, to actually have to do the work of surrendering our feelings for the good of seeing what God can do in and through it. And I just love that you were talking about that and what it means to honor the fifth commandment. That is definitely not something that is emphasized enough at all. But it is so important. Even as adults, we need to honor our father and mother. This is not just something that applies to children.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's where we forget about it, is when we become adults. We get focused on our children honoring us, and we forget that we still need to honor our parents
and how can we require,
and the elderly in our church.
Yeah. And how can we require our children to honor us if we're not setting the example of honoring our father and mother?
100%.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to talk about your mom, because I think this is just one, so intriguing. You live with your mom, but it's also just a really exciting thing to think about, this multi-generational form of hospitality, of Titus 2 discipleship. What does that look like? And talk about how your mom has impacted you and the way that you view hospitality.
My mom is definitely my biggest inspiration for my attitude and my heart posture in hospitality. We grew up in a really small home. My mom had the least functional, smallest kitchen that I've really, probably to this day, ever seen. And she fed 7 kids, my grandmother, my dad, and herself, 3 meals a day from scratch in that kitchen my entire life. It was only just renovated in 2020. I mean, and the thing was atrocious. And yeah, it frustrated her at times, but that never changed the fact that when somebody came to the door after 4 p.m., she would always be like, stay for dinner. There's plenty of food. You know, like she just always had that attitude of there was always room for people at the table. There was always room for people in the home. And that changed so many people's lives. One of my dear friends today is one of my closest friends because 20 years ago, my mom was sitting in the living room to my right, folding 8 people's worth of clothing. And my friend's mom came in. She had a little one and was pregnant with her second. And she saw this woman just cheerfully going about the work that God had given her. And it changed her life. Like she literally just cried because she had never really seen that before or been welcomed into it. And now her daughter is one of my best friends. And we're folding each other's laundry all the time. And there's no ceremony around it. We just do it. So, you know, my mom always had that posture, and sometimes to a fault. We had to remind her as we were getting older and we'll talk about this a little bit later, the concentric circles of her life were, because sometimes she would get so focused on an outer circle that she would forget that her children are her inner circle and forget her priorities and her rightly ordered loves. But she was always humble when we expressed that to her and always shifted her. And even today, I still have to tell her that, you know, when she starts getting so easy for her to add stuff to her schedule, and I have to remind her, like, hey, you know, you have 10 grandkids, you have children that need you. Should be your first priority, not in a selfish way. I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my sister-in-law who just had a NICU baby, my other sister-in-law who's pregnant down the road and can't even wash her own dishes right now, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but living with my mom is definitely not what people really think it is. I think people say, oh, you live with your mom. She must be, you must get free, unlimited childcare all the time. You guys must go out on weekly date nights. You must have a housekeeper that does all your dishes. No, people. Like, my mom has her own life. And we go out maybe 3 or 4 times a year. Maybe. Like, it is not, she is not an endless funnel that I am pulling from all the time. It is a reciprocal relationship. I care for my parents in extremely tangible ways. I am like their nurse. I am like, I do so much for them, and my mom does so much for me. But on a normal basis, when I have a normal day and in the normal throes and rhythms of my life, I try not to be needy of her. Like, if I was existing only because she was coming over to clean my kitchen 3 times a day, that is on me. Like, I need to be working on that. But on Tuesday, when I pulled an all-nighter with my 2-year-olds and I'm pregnant and I could not stand up off the couch, my mom kept me going just enough that day so that the kids got fed, the dishes got done at the end of the day, and I survived. But it is not this never ending, like, my mom is my full-time, nanny or my full-time housekeeper. It's reciprocal. And it's the same way with my dad and with my siblings and all the family that lives close to us. I think that taking advantage of my mom in this scenario would be really unloving of me. And I never want to do that. And, but she's a busy woman, so I don't even have the option to, because she is out straight all the time, discipling other women, bringing people into her home. And it really is like, I could talk about multi-generational living forever. It was actually the first idea that I had for some sort of public ministry was to write a book about multi-generational living, because I think it's one of the most tangible ways that we do obey the 5th commandment. As far as setting our parents up to not have to be put in an isolated nursing home where they're going to rot for the last decade of their life, But so, like, there's so much there that maybe we do another podcast episode about multi-generational living specifically.
We should. Let's do it.
But I will say, the type of community you experience when you do live with your parents or with siblings or whatever that looks like, just the ability to just walk up the stairs and be like, hey, do you have an onion? I cannot believe I'm out of onions. Or, like things like that. You really do feel what God intended when he intended for people to just, have all of our resources be voluntarily shared, not forcefully distributed the way that socialists like to say, but voluntarily shared. And we share our life. We share our belongings. We're always borrowing each other's cars and doing all sorts of things, in a way where we're sharing our life. And it's extremely special. And I believe that it is good for my children. I believe it's good for my parents. And ultimately, it's great for me and Mike, because we're bearing with one another through all of our quirks, which my parents have many. For all our flaws, which me and Mike have many. And all of the throes that comes with having a house full of little kids. So
I love that so much. I think if we have any older listeners who are listening to this right now, that would just be so inspiring to them to think about what good works does the Lord have for me as an older woman in this season. But I think especially for the younger generation, just hearing how you're talking about this isn't just a consumer relationship. Because I know, like, millennials, I feel like we were just trained to have this mentality where our parents, we were the center of the whole world, and it was our parents' job to fulfill all our hopes and dreams. And my parents weren't like that. They were very wise in the way that they did that, and they trained me and my brother to take responsibility and all that. But I know that was kind of the general just atmosphere
milieu
that we were brought up in. And so, and I see that where, people who start having kids, they start thinking of like, oh, well, now my parents like owe me all of this. They need to come and do all these things for me, and they need to do all my childcare. They, whatever it is, move to where I'm moving. And I think that it is such a blessing for older parents to be doing that. I think it is good. I think they should be seeking how they can invest in their grandchildren and not just living for themselves. But I think it is so crucial, maybe even more crucial for us to be thinking of how can we serve them? How can we honor them? Because they did pour their lives into raising us. And we need to be making sure that we are continuing to be a blessing, to not be taking advantage, to not be having these selfish expectations, you know?
Yeah.
And so many of I think relationship issues could be solved in the parent-child dynamic if you had that mentality of serving rather than consuming.
Yes. I mean, again, I could go down this rabbit hole forever. The generational fracture is truly like a huge epidemic. And yes, it's involved with humility on both sides and the right attitude on both sides, but man, we are the most entitled society, and especially my generation is just so entitled.
Yeah.
And I think starting there would do a lot of good work.
Yes, very much. Okay, so that brings up the point of how we are called to bear one another's burdens. Scripture calls us to bear each other's burdens. And so can you give us some practical examples of how women can do this shoulder-to-shoulder type of community that you talk about?
Yeah, and this is the real like meat and potatoes that I get into in my course, the Village Calling, and so what it comes down to is intentionally looking at ways within your capacity that you can help lighten another person's load, and then offering it in a way where it puts the blessing like on you, like you frame it in a way where it's actually a blessing for you to do it for them. And so this just puts the whole let me know if you need anything like right out of the picture. Okay, that's not it. If I could get rid of like one phrase for a time in our society, it would be let me know if you need anything. You're deciding what's within your capacity to help lighten the burden of somebody else, and then you're offering it to them in a way that makes it easy for them to say yes, and that actually makes them feel like they're blessing you by letting you do it.
Yes. So give some examples, because I see you talk about this a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, if someone's going through something hard, I'll go ahead and make the meal, and then I'll text them and say, hey, I've got some beef stew for you. It's fine to go in the freezer if you don't want to use it for your few days, but I'm going to leave it on your doorstep. Is there a good time to come by today? You know, that way there's not really are you sure? You don't have to do that, you know, back and forth. I have a whole recipe book of meals that are they are allergy friendly, they're easy to prepare, they're budget friendly, they're high protein, and they travel well and they freeze well. Like I've spent years cultivating these recipes and put them all in one place so that, you know, that's something that I turn to when someone is going through a hard time. I just go, I see what's in my freezer, I make the meal, and I drop it. For people that I'm really close to, like my best friend, their family went through a really hard couple of weeks, and I just straight up said, hey, leave laundry on your doorstep. Mike is going to swing through and grab it on his way home from work. And I put it through, folded it, and dropped it the next day. And it was only like 2 loads, but that, you know, that's just a small way to lighten somebody's load. For people that are going through the
literally lighten their load.
I love to take people's kids. I offer all the time, like, hey, and you know what? Any mom who's been in the game long enough knows that adding children to your home is really just lightening your load because they have playmates. That changes the dynamic enough if they are well raised and understand authority, you know. And so I love to just be like, hey, pick a day this week. I'd love to take your kids in the morning so that you can get your homeschool planning done. I know that's been a burden on your heart lately. I do that all the time. I had a friend with 5 kids who was just, in the matter of 6 weeks, they lost 4 family members, and then her husband also got deployed. And she's also somebody that is very much like, I can do it all, I can do it all. And that was a much more tricky offer. I know that they're busy, they run a tight ship. And so praying through how you're offering things to people in a way that gives them the freedom to step into that help is really, really important. And that's going to depend on the person. But the fact is, you're not going to get any better at it by not doing it. You're going to get better at it by doing it. I love to bring people like single portion meals when they're in the hospital, because hospital food is literally poison. And, you know, that can be on a big scale or a small scale. I put together 3 weeks worth of single portion meals for my sister when she had a surprise NICU baby. And I had the women from her church come and help me. We did it all in 2 hours, 7 of us did. And it was like
I had somebody do
meals.
Yeah. From when
Did you really?
I was when I was in the hospital with my NICU baby, somebody brought me
Yeah.
like little portion smoothies and because
Yes.
I couldn't have solids and just all these things. It was that kind of stuff. It just is everything.
It is. And so it's like people are like, I get probably anywhere from 10 to 15 DMs a day. What do I do for a person with this?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Food is always a way you can bless people. Offering, but the thing is, it has to be specific help and really what you're opening the door for them to say in response is giving you like the day, the time, or the detail or anything like that. But you need to offer specific help. And that to me are just really go-to ways. You can't really go wrong offering any of those things. So
I love that. That's really, really helpful. I think that all of this is so good because I think that people underestimate the significance of what just the ministry of food is, you know, and in the kingdom of God, that we can tend to really place a high priority of the things that seem more spiritual, like hosting a Bible study or, serving in
I know we're like-minded about this.
Yes. And it just like this ministry of providing a meal and practical ways of helping people get through the day, get through whatever their challenge is. This is the way that we live out the love of Christ every day.
Do you know what? And do you know what I was doing when I was literally bedridden for a day? I was going through my calendar. This is just if you really have every excuse in the book where you really can't make a meal, you really can't take people's kids, you really can't do extra laundry. I posted about this recently about keeping your calendar up to date with significant seasons in other people's life. So my neighbor, was it yesterday? It's this week that her dad died a year ago, and he was a man of legacy. He had 12 kids, 60-something grandchildren. I mean, he left a legacy, lived to be 90-something years old, was married for 63 years, like an amazing man. And I texted her a week before because my phone alerted me that the anniversary was coming up and I could not get the muffins together I had planned to make. I could not go put together that bouquet I wanted, and I couldn't get the card because I was literally in bed super sick. But I did text her and say, you are on my heart today, and I know that your dad's anniversary is coming up, and I just want you to know that you are making him so proud. His legacy is living on through you, and I'm holding you, and I am praying for you as you approach this week. Okay? That required zero of my resources, and it made her sob. She was like, I can't believe that you would think of me. Like when you have, all your kids and all the things that you do. And so you guys, it's simple. Like, it's an intentional thought, praying and asking the Lord, who needs love and care today? And if all I can do is send them a text to say like, I love you, I'm praying for you, I know you're going through a hard thing, but the Lord is with you and I'm with you too in my prayers, then that's what you do. But if you can also take 6 of the muffins that you baked this morning and put them at their doorstep and just have like a little snacky to bless their soul, do it. Like it can be so, so simple. And so just don't overcomplicate it and don't discount those little things that mean so much.
Yeah, it's living with a mindset, and I talk about this a lot here, of what am I for? What is my purpose for? And it's for ultimately glorifying God, but we do that by pouring ourselves out. He put us here to love others. And if we have that attitude, then we realize, okay, this is my job today. It's my job is to love the people in front of me.
Yes.
Yeah. So, okay, you've talked about how this lifestyle that you have created, that you seek to live out, it's not something that happened by accident. You didn't just wake up one day and go, I'm a hospitable person. I'm going to build community. You've talked about how you have trained your kids up to learn how to live in a home where this is the way you guys do things. What are just the rhythms and habits and practical systems that you've put in place that you plod along with on a daily basis to actually make this practical and possible?
Yeah, I really sat on this one because it definitely doesn't come down to cleaning routines. It definitely doesn't come down to meal planning. I think it is so much more deciding what you want the culture of your home to be and then acting accordingly. And I know that's more abstract than people kind of want to hear. But when you have this heart of like what you just said, like being poured out and what am I for? You're going to on a Sunday morning realize you have nothing going on that evening and holler at a few of the college kids in your congregation and say, "Hey guys, come on over for a fire tonight. We don't really have anything going on." Um and really the most practical thing you can do if you want this is you pray and ask the Lord to show you where the opportunity is and then you jump at it.
Mm.
Um and I don't know if this goes along with another question, but we can just skip it if it does. What you want to be doing in all of that is the act of growing your capacity, and that
Mm.
is a dance.
Yeah.
It's a constant dance. So you extend a little bit more of yourself. You say, "I'm going to invite 2 people over for dinner this month." And if that goes well, you push yourself, a little bit more or the same. And if you start to see things sort of fall by the wayside, whether it's your own house, your own children, whatever, you pull back a little bit. Okay, you get those things in order and then you don't wait too long. You step right back into it again. But this time you're bringing with you all the lessons you learned, all the new muscle you grew, and all of that kind of stuff so that you're not just constantly pulling back because you think you can't handle it all. You're growing your ability to handle more. You're growing your ability um, to stretch your capacity. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say that I'm hosting the entire youth group, which is like 30 kids. I'm doing all the cooking by myself and I've got 4 kids running around. But you know what? Like, that's not really a one-man show. My kids love getting into hospitality with me. And
Mm.
I find the jobs, this is a huge piece, I find the jobs that they can do independently and do it well. So my 6-year-old made the signs for like the bathroom and where to put shoes. And that took her like
No.
45 minutes. And all I did was take a black marker and trace the letters. And she colored them in. And, they weren't Pinterest worthy, but they were
Yeah.
so much more meaningful that my 6-year-old. And she was so excited to do it. And then she was like, "Mom,
Yeah.
what else? Do people know where the drinks are? Can I do one for drinks?" Yes, So
They
it's
want
finding the
to
job.
contribute.
They do, and they love it, and they get so excited.
Yeah.
"Mom, who's coming over today?" They're always asking me,
Mm.
"Who's coming over today? What can we do?" And so it's making your children an actual valuable part of it, not getting in your way of it. Just never feel like your children are getting in the way of your hospitality, or you will burn your family out. They are
Mm.
a part of it and they contribute so much more than you think that they can. I mean, my 5-year-old can set the table start to finish by himself. Does he always want to do it with a cheerful heart? No, but that's okay. We're working on that.
Yeah.
And so again, I know that's a little bit less tangible than I think people want to hear, but it's because everyone's home is different and everyone's community is different and what the resources that they're working with are different. But the fact is that you can grow your capacity and extend your resources from the season that you're in without burning out if you're willing to do the capacity dance and always stretch yourself to be more and learn from your mistakes and keep going on and keep plodding forward. I hope
Yeah.
I hope
No,
that's a good
I think
question.
that's really good because women are always looking for a formula. They're like, "Tell me, 1, 2, 3, what are my steps that I need to do?" But what it really comes down to is walking with wisdom. And I
Absolutely.
loved how you just talked about starting small because, like, if we're lifting weights, we want to get into weightlifting.
Strength training. Mhm.
Yeah. And we're not going to start off with this super, super heavy weight. We're going to start off with,
Lift the bar.
yes.
You just lift the
And
bar.
I think that it's important to remember that in terms of capacity and growing our capacity, like you
Mhm.
were saying, we're not going to start off with this huge group of people. We need to start off with, let's have one person over this week. And then
Mhm.
once we get that down, then we'll move up to, couple people over a week or whatever it is. I think that is really great advice right there because it's a way that we're growing and strengthening our muscles of this. And also just being wise, like you were saying, not giving everything to our guests and not to our family.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. You
Yeah.
can really lose yourself there, and you can't.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I think some people can kind of get the idea, though, that hospitality means saying yes to everything, saying yes to every guest, every invitation or opportunity to host. How can women discern what to say yes to? And is there ever a time when it's appropriate to say no? How can you know what to do?
Yeah, you have to kind of observe this over time. What are your yeses and what are your nos producing over long periods of time? If you're always you're not everyone's savior.
Mm-hmm.
You're not the gatherer of all people, and you are going to have to say no at times. However, if you get too hung up on saying no too much, you're going to produce fruit that isolates you, that makes your community smaller, that makes you smaller as a person, that doesn't stretch your capacity, that doesn't strengthen you. And so you have to look at the fruit over time. What are my choices producing? And if they're producing the good fruit of I'm actually more rested so I can jump back into it, or I was able to pull back this weekend and kind of reset my house and I'm jumping back in Monday and Tuesday with a meal train, then you're saying the right yes and the right no. And
Mm-hmm.
you just have to measure it by the fruit, because it's very easy to just always think that you're protecting whatever it is you need to protect, whether it's your stress, your peace, your chaos, whatever. Um, then that's going to probably produce some bad fruit over time if you're just constantly saying no in the name of not doing too much. At times, there will be seasons in your life where it is good and right for you to stretch yourself a little beyond what you should be for the sake of other people. Um, when my best friends went through a couple really bad tragedies in a row, that was a time where I got takeout for my family a couple of times, and we are like a no takeout family. And it was because I
Mm-hmm.
needed to make sure they were well nourished, they were well
Mm.
fed, their house was clean. And that's okay. That's not a
Yeah,
forever season. You pull back again, but it's
yeah.
okay to let some things slide for seasons, and it's going to shift and change. I've been in a season for quite a long time where I haven't really needed the support back at me. But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean I've never been in a season where I haven't. I mean, I had a brain tumor for 6 years and I was basically a vegetable. So I've been blessed with a long season of capability and being able to pour out more than I've needed to receive.
Yeah.
But I'm always evaluating. I'm always going before the Lord. I'm always seeking discernment and wisdom and making sure that I'm not abandoning the things that I'm supposed to be putting first, and that I'm not keeping myself comfortable just for the sake of not being stretched.
I think that's really good. And this really, you touched on this earlier, but this brings in the whole conversation of rightly ordered loves, which
Mhm.
I think is something that we as women really need to be thinking about constantly of who am I called to love first? And then how do I make sure I am doing my duty of tending to their needs and being a blessing to them first before I go out and bless other people. So, how would you say we rightly order our love so that our family remains the priority, even as we're trying to cultivate this village community and show hospitality?
People abandon their husbands and their children so
Mm.
quickly, Heather, because they
Yeah.
want to suddenly get this idea. I'm going to do every single meal train. I'm going to have every
Mm-hmm.
single family over. And then before they know it, their marriage bed is cold.
Mm-hmm.
They're angry at their kids all the time because they're messing up this house that's supposed to be ready for hospitality. And then everything gets inverted.
Yep.
And that is
Yeah.
such a dangerous ditch to fall in. And so we have to be going at this with the perspective of, I am doing this with my husband. I'm doing this with my children,
Mm-hmm.
and I am doing it for them. And if at any point my ambitions outpace what our household is handling in a responsible and godly way, um, we need to pull back.
Yeah.
My husband loves opening our home to people, and I'll tell you, it's because I don't become a monster when it's time to have people over. Um, I'm the same person. I just have to hustle maybe a little harder depending on what the day looked like. And you know what? I'm still ready to greet him in the marriage bed after we've had company late at night. I'm
Yeah.
not sacrificing any part of my marriage to be the type of person that is a gatherer.
Mm-hmm.
And that is just such an important piece to take with you. And
Mhm.
and then when it comes to your children, if you are constantly snapping at them because
Mhm.
they're living in their own house that you
Yeah.
want to be open more for other people, you have got to repent. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a frank and friendly word for you. You have got to repent. You will, and you should teach them to contribute to the home and help pick up. But right now, the thing is baseball cards and Pokemon cards, and that in my head is clutter because they don't mean anything to me. But they
Mhm.
mean a lot to my son because it's a connection with his dad, and it's just his thing right now. And so
Yeah.
I'm going to joyfully stack them in all the different places that they are, even in their sleeves and in their books and in their boxes and all that kind of stuff. And praise the Lord that my son has an interest that is getting him excited, and not worry that it's causing clutter that I've cleaned up 10 different times today, or because I'm annoyed with it because it's not my stuff that has value to me. So doing everything in a way that your children and your husband are blessed by your efforts and not threatened by them. And then again, going back to that, seeking the Lord and making sure that your priorities are ordered. When we have rightly ordered loves, what forms is a concentric circle. So you have
Mhm.
your inner circle, which is your husband, your children, and your immediate family. Okay, and they're the people that are going to um, take more from you in different seasons, and that you should be extending for.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you try to then, but then your next concentric circle is like the members of your church. You have a covenant relationship with them, with the people in your church that you also should be ministering to and reaching out to, but not at the same level as, you're going to stop everything when your best friend has a miscarriage so that you can take her
Yeah.
kids and get her dinner on the table that night. And then you have the outer circle where, like, maybe all you can do for them is be committed to prayer for their needs. And every once in a while you're able to extend yourself more or invite them more, but that's like an every 6 month type of friendship, or staying in their life and keeping tabs on them, but they're not somebody that you even really know the ins and outs of what's going on in their life, and you're not their savior, and you're not everybody's savior, and you have to make sure that you're not trying to become outer circles like bestie when your
Mhm.
husband hasn't seen you smile in 2 weeks because
Mm.
you're stressed. So
Yes.
evaluate, change, ask the Lord for wisdom, repent, and then keep plotting. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. I think that's so helpful because I think so many women just do have that savior complex
Mm-hmm.
where they want to be all things to all people. Or on the other hand, they could feel extremely overwhelmed. Where do I start? There's so many people in front of me that have these needs. Who do I give my time and attention to? I can't be best friends with everybody. So, oh no, I just won't be friends with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I think that it is so vitally important, first of all, that we need to remember that it's not just our ministry that we're doing, it's our husband's ministry. And so the hospitality that we are showing, it's not just about my good works I'm doing. We are a reflection of our husband's hospitality. We are representing our husband.
We're
And
on his mission.
yes, it's his mission, it's his home. And we shouldn't just be thinking about our capacity either. We should be thinking about what's our husband's capacity. Maybe your husband is somebody who loves having people over all the time, who's really extroverted or whatever. But maybe another woman's husband really needs to have some time to decompress and have a few nights of the week or whatever to just have some quiet and recharge. And we need to honor and respect that even if we want to dive into doing all these acts of mercy and
Mhm.
hospitality, that if our husband is not excited about it, that we're not being a blessing to him. And
Yeah.
so I think a really important place for wives to start is, well, it's the most important place, is to ask your husband, what is your priority for hospitality in our home? What would
Mm-hmm.
you like it to look like? What are our resources as far as money
Mm-hmm.
and, those types of things that we can put toward this ministry of serving others. And
And then
if
build it in a way that he comes to trust it, not resent it.
Yes. Yeah. And where he feels blessed by it, because then he will also be more of a blessing to the people who are coming in as well. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I know our time is coming to a close here. So, as we wrap up, if every woman listening decided to faithfully practice biblical hospitality over the next 5 or 10 years, what do you think would begin to change? Not only in her home, but in her church, her neighborhood, even the next generation. And what would you want listeners to remember as they begin taking their first steps toward building this kind of beautiful life?
I'll kind of answer it backwards. I'm going to answer the second part first. I think the most important thing to take away as you're stepping into this for the first time is hospitality is not an event. It's a legacy that you're building. And so you can't take data on how things are going as you're trying to be more hospitable based on one time or one invite that was a no or anything like that. Like, you have to see it as a legacy. You have to see it as you're building something for your daughters to step into. And that's going to keep you going through the ebbs and flows of what community is. And that's natural and that's good. And you should be experiencing ebbs and flows where maybe things are a little discouraging, a little dry, and then everything feels like it's going well. I mean, I live in New Hampshire. We all hibernate for like 4.5 months because it's just miserable to do anything. And there's no sunshine, And so, but we all get depressed. And so we have to work our way through that anyways. But,
Yeah.
but I really think, and my whole and the Lord put this idea in my lap, and I decided to just start talking about it and build my course and make it something that was not only productive for our home, but impactful, across society. What I really want is I want for the people implementing it to see it as a generational change, not something that they're doing to serve them. And I think that's a really easy ditch to fall in, is if I start doing this, then I will receive the village back. And maybe that's true. Maybe you do get solid reciprocation, and that is fabulous. That means you've got strong people around you, and that's wonderful. However, if that's all you're building for, you're going to burn out, and also you're going to just like lose the plot. Okay. And I want people to see this as we are taking an individualized, isolated society, and over the course of 1 or 2 generations, we're changing it into a society that thrives on the people that are in front of them, not in their niche Facebook groups where everyone agrees on everything, not in their Discords where no one knows you, but it's for some reason it's become the only people you trust, not on Twitter where you're like asking for advice from people that don't have any skin in the game to give it to you, or know if you even took their advice and follow up in a tangible manner, that we start living in a way that the people that are in front of our eyeballs, that are hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder with us, are the people that are taking us from the cradle to our grave. And that is really hard in a society where we can ditch people without any reason. We can get on a plane and move the second that there isn't too much conflict for us to handle. The list goes on and on. But over time, the young moms become much, much stronger, and they understand that they're pillars in a society, not leeches in a society. Okay. The older moms understand that they are so valuable because they've walked so many seasons of life, and that we need them. We love them, and not just for their ability to prep food, but for their ability to speak into our lives.
Yes.
For churches to not have such a volunteer problem all the time, where it's down to the same families to do all the same work, but everyone cannot wait to make the time to make their church run in a way that reaches people and brings people in and serves them and loves them well. And for children to become really resilient and strong in their ability to see the world outside of their own like square foot of space they take up. Because that's a huge one, the permissive parenting and just the children losing the plot and what their purpose is during all the seasons of their childhood, etc. So that's what I desire for people, and that is all under the umbrella of knowing God and understanding his will for us in the short time that we're given on earth, so that we can enter into his presence on that beautiful, glorious day, and he can say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You put your shoulders to the plow and you pushed," because that is the call and that's the charge that I gave you as my son or daughter. that's what it all comes down to. And that's what I want people to experience is the fullness of God's purpose for us. It's not to just sit around for the rest of our lives and be consumers. It's to experience just how satisfying it is to pour ourselves out for others until the very last breath we're given.
Amen. And this is where we experience his love for us, and we come to know him more and the love and hospitality that he showed us. So I love that. I think that's such a good place to end it. Thank you so much, Mallory. I feel like we could talk about so many things.
I know. We have like 6 more episodes.
Yeah. We could go on for a long time.
They'll never happen because we keep having to reschedule, but we can at least think about it.
Thank you so much. And can you please tell our listeners where they can find you and learn more about what you're doing?
Yep, I'm on Instagram at The Village Calling. You can email me if you're not on Instagram, Mallory at thevillagecalling.com. I just started on Facebook. Not much is happening there, but if you're only on Facebook, you can find me there. And I'll point you to my course. I'll point you to my recipe PDF. All of that is getting completely revamped. I'm adding maybe 10x to what my course is now. It's going to be multiplied by 10, and it's coming out. My prayer is in time for the holidays, it's going to be huge and super, super helpful. It's going to be an incredible resource that I cannot wait to get the time to actually get out there. But only if the Lord wills it, if I've got time in the cracks of my life. But that really is where you're going to get the most meat and potatoes about what I offer. I can only have so much time to talk to people on Instagram in DMs or in comments or anything like that. But that's where you can find me. And Heather, I just want you to know how much fun this was. I feel like we could sit at my kitchen counter and chat without spilling coffee for a long time. It was such a pleasure. And I am so excited for future partnerships with you because I feel like what you're doing at Keeping the Citadel is so beautiful and fantastic. It's going to help so many women. And it feels like such an honor and privilege to be a part of it. And I just want you to know that, like, just keep going and keep doing it because the Lord is going to do something amazing through it. So I'm so excited to know you and to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. That blesses me so much. And I'm super excited to have you on board. Mallory will be writing for our winter issue. Is that correct?
I think it's going to be winter. I think it's going to be winter.
Okay. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to check out Mallory's course. And I guess that's all for now. So thank you.
God bless you.
Bye. You too. Bye. That's all we have time for today. Please don't forget to leave a review and spread the word about Keeping the Citadel to your friends. And before you sign off of this episode, as we always do here, I'd like to leave you with a charge to encourage you to go further up and further in your calling. So here is my charge to you. Matthew 5:14 through 16 says, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." Your life and your home are meant to be a shining citadel to a dark world that needs the light of the gospel. If we keep that light all to ourselves, what good will it do for the kingdom of God? Your home was given to you to be an instrument for the spreading of the gospel, so use it. It's not meant to be a refuge for just your family, but for all who enter. So open your doors and let your home be an outpost of the kingdom, where people are welcomed, burdens are shared, children see faith lived out, and weary saints are strengthened for the work ahead. This is the kind of citadel we are called to build. If you feel ill-equipped or like you don't have the capacity to give, look for the small needs in front of you and start there. Go to the Lord for strength and ask Him to grow you in these areas. Look for ways to express the gifts of God in a tangible way to those around you so that they can taste and see His goodness. Remember, beauty is meant to be shared, not hoarded. So have courage, dear heart. He who has called you will equip you and strengthen you according to His purpose. Until next time, embrace your high calling, live a better story, and keep the flame of your citadel burning brightly.